Hello, this is One Mana Left, and today we finally, at long last, after 8,000 years, have had new Path of Exile news. We had the announcement stream for 326, and in this video, I'm going to basically give you a summary of what I think about it, what some of the new stuff is. Naturally, I'm not going to go into like the details of how the league works, because just, watch the video. You can do that yourself. But I'll go over kind of some of the balance changes and how they affect my plans going forward, and then what I'm going to plan on for builds this league. But just to kind of summarize the patch so far, it looks pretty good. I frankly didn't need the patch to be that crazy to get me hyped, but it looks really good. We have a new endgame mechanic. There's a new boss called the Originator. Xana's back. We have a new league mechanic that's separate than all the endgame, where we get mercenaries that are most likely just going to be used as people's animate guardians. But, alright, cool enough. They do give more mapping juice, and they do count as half a party member. So they give you more quant, more loot, but they make the monsters have more HP by 50%. So that is kind of a tax for low DPS builds, and will kind of push people to have higher DPS builds. So that's good for the builds I make. And, yeah, we've got a lot of balance changes that I would say are basically predictable. Like, I hit my first 14 bingo cards on some of the balance. I'll go over that a little more in a little bit here. I'll go through some patch notes. But, a couple other random noteworthy things. All the cool stuff in Settlers is going core. Faustus is staying. Recombinator's staying. They did a demo where they are going to do the PoE2 Recombinator as an option, and then the old Recombinator as another option, although the results in the demo looked a little nerfed. But Mark was asked in the Q&A afterwards on that, and he said to his knowledge it wasn't nerfed. So they hit a result that was an 11% low roll. But hopefully that means it's not nerfed, and we still get to keep Recombinators. We get to keep Faustus. We get to keep ships, mappers, tattoos from ships. All the Settler stuff is just going to effectively function as a gold sink. And probably if you're playing a build, doing some juice content, generating a lot of gold, is going to be where you send millions of gold to get mirror shards. So I'm down with that. That's fine by me. I think there's some people that were unhappy about Settlers going core. And I don't think it's that they actually dislike the mechanic. I think Settlers just caught kind of a bad rap due to the circumstances around 325. Some people that played a lot of PoE1 during those 11 months ended up having to level King's March and do Settlers like 4 or 5 times. And I think that left a bad taste in people's mouth. But fundamentally, the Settlers mechanic is a good mechanic. So I think the people that might be unhappy to hear that are just frustrated with the circumstances of 325 and they don't actually dislike Settlers. So yeah, whatever blowback I've seen for that, I'm really happy they're keeping Settlers core and we're keeping all those features. A lot of the updates are quality of life, which is always good. I think pretty much everything they've done on the quality of life side of things has been just strictly better than the current system. I haven't seen a single thing yet where I'm like, oh man, I wish they hadn't changed that. But yeah, the league could have some interesting things with the mercenaries having alternate gems. We don't know yet. Some of these different gems we're able to get for ourselves. So there's a big question mark there going into the patch on there might be some randomly OP like alt quality gem from the mercenaries. We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But without knowing that, I'm starting to plan as is. There's a couple potential powerful things. We've seen some runes. So with Settlers going core, the rune crafting bench is gone. But instead, we get these runes that you can use on masteries on the passive tree.
Placing stat.
And they replace the mastery with like a pretty powerful effect. Remember, this only has to be better than 1 talent point to be worth it. Because I think people misinterpret this, that like, oh, isn't a mastery better than that? But it's like, no. You only, like, the masteries you're currently taking that are better than 1 talent point, you would just take additional masteries that suck, and you're spending 1 talent point on one of these effects. So like I have a Mjolner tree here, for example. That's not a Mjolner tree. Don't look at that. Like, I have a Mjolner tree here. I have 8 masteries I'm not taking. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I lost the 8th. I don't even know where it is. There's 8 masteries on this tree I'm not taking. And it's like, all you end up doing is you just spec one of these garbage ones, and then you just use one of the runes on it. You're only allowed one of each individual rune, but effectively on these, you're just going to use every rune that's better than 1 talent point. And I imagine there will be several for most builds that are better than a talent point. They've shown some of these, there's reduced attribute 1, for example. Like, there might be a 10% increased attribute 1, who knows? So, like, stuff like that would just be like some obvious huge power. So we'll have to see. Some of them might be really expensive, but that's great if you're going to be just, sending ships out and trying to get some runes. So I think that's cool, and stuff like this always adds extra, like, complexity and, like, build tools to use. And they might even, some of them, enable new builds entirely, so I'm always hyped for that. But let's just basically get into balance changes and how it affects the builds I have planned. So I'll start first with Zenith. Zenith was my predicted OP build for 325. I tested the build in 324 with the assumption that they were going to buff melee. They did. They buffed it by 86%. And then they were even so kind as the last second as to give me an extra return proj enchant that basically is +1 ring slot, because you no longer have to use Nimbus. So I made the Molten Strike of the Zenith build for 326, and it was a very powerful build. It was overwhelmingly successful. The only real negative criticism I got back from that from people who played the build was, between just a lot of hype for settlers, the build looking strong, and the last minute return proj enchant, a lot of people ended up playing the build. I have 367,000 views on this video. So one of the negatives of that was that some of the items that should have been cheaper got kind of priced up to be fairly expensive. So people that maybe, struggle to make 20 div, like, a lot of the should be cheap items for them got bought out and priced up. So that was probably the only negative point, was just like the hype generated some like really lopsided demand I didn't really predict. But as far as the balance changes for Zenith, we'll get back to why that's kind of important. If I control F these patch notes right here and just type in Zenith, you will see these are nerfed, but this does not factor in the quality. So right now, Zenith is 1,000% at 20 quality, or 1,030 at 23 quality. So it will be 800 or 830 increased on the hit. So that doesn't affect the damage of the in-between hits, although the 60% less instead of 50 is a nerf. But the combination of these two things is approximately a 33% nerf. That is a nerf, and we lose a ring slot because we lose return proj. But to people that didn't play the build all the way to the point where they got the return proj enchant, the return proj enchant at one point this league peaked at 130 divines. At one point, power runes were 6 to 7 div, and mountain runes were like almost a div. And it was 130 div for the enchant. Like, that's basically the price of a Nimbus. And with a lot of the other nerfs that have come this league, like with Lightning Strike getting, nuked from orbit, there might be some less competition for Nimbus. So I don't necessarily think that the people that played the build to the level of the return proj enchant will struggle too much getting a Nimbus, but we'll see. Even pre-return proj enchant, it was pretty good. But yeah, it's a 33% nerf. But one thing to keep in mind is when I did this video, and I did like the demonstrations for this video of me just like insta-killing bosses, you gotta remember, I published this video on July 21st, which is 5 days before Settlers came out. You can actually see this is in Necropolis League. Every single clip from this video, if you watched the original Zenith video, every single clip
to see him disappear
is from 324. Like, all these maxed HP, 2 billion HP kills, this is all 324. So it was buffed by 86%, and then we gained the return proj enchant, which was not in this video. And now it's nerfed by 33%. That means it is 24% better in 326 than everything that was shown in this video. So, will it be as strong as Settlers? No. However, there might be new power creep with either, things that are added like different gems, runes, new mechanic, new Atlas stuff, new influence stuff, new endgame uniques, whatever. There might be new power creep or borrowed power for 326. Like, we get mercenaries that can just give you haste aura. I didn't have haste aura for this. Like, there will likely be some new borrowed power that replaces a portion of that. But most likely, Zenith will be in a state where it is slightly weaker than 325. But I've kind of jokingly said 67% of Infinity is still Infinity. So I think it will be in a very strong spot. But because my plan is to probably go Templar, I think less people will play the build this league, which means some of the early game and even end game prices will be cheaper. So if you didn't play Zenith and Settlers, in lieu of also a lot of other meta builds getting nerfed, it's probably a very safe pick this league to play Zenith, because I imagine things will be cheaper, and it will be like 67% the power. And it was very, very overqualified before. Like, any situation before where you just attack something, you just go up to an Uber Exarch, and that Zenith goes off, and you just see his HP go 100 to 0 in, like, the first attack. Like, not even the multi-strikes. Like, that's not going to change at all with a 33 nerf. So, yeah. I think this league will be an option for you to play a cheaper, like, nearly full power Zenith if you want. But I am probably going to go Templar because I want to use some of these juicy caster buffs. As far as other changes, there are caster buffs pretty much across the board. Arcane Surge is buffed. Mana Righteous Fire is 25% more cast speed, basically for free. Like, yes, you can't use this and regular Righteous Fire, but any caster build that wasn't able to sustain Righteous Fire before, this is free. Because if you're not a mana stacker, and you only have like 1,000 mana, this skill degens you based on your mana. So it's 70% of 1,000, so it's 700. And then you have like fire res and stuff, and this skill will degen you for like 70 per second. It will degen you significantly less than Blood Rage. Like, you will just get, and this is just a 20-0. Like, this isn't level 21, this isn't qualityed. You will just get like 26+% cast speed for the cost of a gem socket and 70 degen. This is such a crazy caster buff. So there's a number of these caster buffs. There's new support gems. They've numerically buffed some skills. The only notable nerf, I would say, is Archmage itself got a 15% nerf. So it went from 19 to 16, but at 21, this went to 20. So I'm guessing at 21, this will go to 17 as well. So it's a 15% nerf. But in addition to the other changes they're making around casters and some of the gem buffs, I think this is roughly going to be a wash. So my plan is probably to start Mjolner. I will do a video on all these things. I will do a video on Zenith. I will do a video on Mjolnir, and I will do a video for my endgame setup, which is going to be Energy Blade, Aura Stacker, Incinerate of Venting, Frostblink and Wintry Blast on Inquisitor. I'll talk about that more in a second, but that's my endgame plan. But my plan is to do a setup I've done many times now, which is a Mjolnir start. It's pretty safe. It feels really good. There's very few things in Path of Exile that feel as fun to me as playing Cast when channeling Cyclone Lightning Warp and just teleporting around the map 3.3 times per second and just full screen nuking everything with Mjolnir. Like, it's just such a fun play style. I genuinely missed it in Settlers because that was the first league in a while I haven't played it. So I'm most likely going to do a Mjolnir start. I think it'll be very strong. I don't think prices will be too bad. My Mjolnir video in 324 got like 112k views. And everyone's just like, Mjolnir's going to be 10 divines. And like, They peaked at about 1 divine. So it's a tier 2 unique. We'll see. If not, I just level Armageddon Brand until I get a Mjolnir. But my plan is to pivot to the Energy Blade Aura Stacker. And this uses a skill called Incinerate Venting for ridiculous single target. But it's pretty decent clear as well. Like, it's good AoE. It has a 9 meter AoE, I think. Is that right? Where's my Freesia character? Where's Rashield Wallace? Like, what's my AoE on Vent? Okay, this one only has 6.8 meters. Is that conk effect? Okay, so without increased area of effect. Has this got the chest mod? No, it doesn't have the chest mod. Oh, it doesn't even have the chest mod. Okay, 7.2 meters. Okay, so it's 7.2 meter radius without awaken increased area of effect. I had a config where it got up to 9 meters, but it's such. I'll show you some gameplay of it in a second, but it's such a big radius skill, and it does such stupid damage that, like, you can just do Maven invites by standing in the middle of the room and just rotating around like a helicopter, and then you win in like 3 seconds. It reaches the edge of the Maven arena from the center for every invite. But I made this character at the end of Settlers on an Inquisitor because I had an idea. I was preparing for some Zenith nerfs. I was preparing for some caster buffs. Like I was saying at the start here, going into a new league, basically predict what I think is going to be buffed. I'm almost always right on them. I don't actually remember if I've ever been wrong. And just like I was predicting the Zenith buff and then testing Zenith in 324, I was predicting some caster buffs going into 326. So I tested an Inquisitor, and I made Mr. Charles Sparkley here to test this out. But then we had Freesia League, and I actually got an opportunity to build the character on the Scavenger, which is maybe it's lower damage, but maybe slightly tankier than the Inquisitor. Because it doesn't get crit, but you get, like, free CI. I don't know. They're pretty 1-to-1, I'd say. But I tested the character in Freesia on Scavenger. That was possibly the most fun I've ever had playing Path of Exile. It's just the most insanely good-feeling character I've ever played. Like, this character did Freesia Titanic Exiles at 276 map mod effect, the highest possible. I was gifted to borrow from eMiracles a 4 mirror idol set. That was the max possible juice for Freesia Exiles. And I put together about a 2 mirror character with this. And I farmed Titanic Freesia Exiles to level 100, deathless, at 94 million XP an hour at 99. It was the most insane feeling character I probably ever played. The only difference is it's like a little bit lower damage than Zenith, but it just got buffed by 2.2 times. So I think this character is going to get its 3rd comma this league. So it'll be 6k Delve and 98 Valdo approved. But this character clears with Frostblink and Wintry Blast because you're an Energy Blade character that's using Battle Mage. So you just have an absurd amount of flat damage. I use Explode Flask to pop. And then I scale AoE. So I just Frostblink around the map with 13 or 12 casts per second, which will be buffed this league, potentially with Mana RF, more cast speed modifier. It might be too much cast speed. I might just use regular RF. I'm not sure yet. And then anything big, aka the Titanic Exiles, I use Incinerate. So, before I show this off, I'll just go over this stupid skill. This is currently the highest effectiveness spell in Path of Exile. It's higher effectiveness than a perfect scenario Stormbind. So Stormbind, even if you cheese it to get 1 rune power up per tick, and you get perfect overlap on every rune, and you have 0 downtime, 0 switch time, in the most perfect scenario possible, Stormbind still does less damage than this. Penance Brand of Dissipation with Runebinder, with 2 brands on the target, at fully ramped stacks, does less single target than just Incinerated Venting, which has a 0.4 second ramp time. They buffed this skill by 2.2 times. Directly, they buffed the gem by 33%, I think. And then they added new channeling supports. They buffed Infused Channeling. They buffed Arcane Surge. You have the option to use the cast speed mana RF now. All these changes, they did not nerf Energy Blade at all. They did not nerf Spell Blade at all. All of these changes is like over double damage already with no other further added borrowed power. But like this skill has a damage effectiveness of it was 1333 per second, and then it got buffed to this. So it got buffed by 34% on top of the 1333 already. This skill does 1800% damage effectiveness per second unconditionally. It's 0.4 second with all the cast speed scaling I have. It's full stacks in 0.4 seconds. And it's 7 meter AoE, or 9 if you go for Awakening AoE. And it's just unconditional. It just hits, it just does that much damage. There's no Penance Brand condition where you have to ramp the Penance Brand stacks and put 2... No. There's no Stormbind. No. It just does 1800% per second. This was already the number 1 skill at 1300, and they buffed it to 1800. This is going to be the most broken spell of 326 by far. And I believe this will be the spell that's nerfed in 327. I have a pretty good track record on these predictions, you might say. I told you 1 year ago that Zenith would be nerfed in 326, and it was nerfed by 33% today, which is less than I assumed. But the only thing that is like a point against venting is that it's a little clunky in the sense that it's just like, oh, it's a channeling skill. It doesn't have any baked-in movement. You're self-casting. But, like, I don't clear with this skill. I clear with Frostblink, with AoE scaling and Explode Flask. I only use this for single. So I'll finish showing you some gameplay of this, just to, like, you know, explain my plan. But I will do videos on all these. I'll do an Energy Blade venting guide. I'll do a Mjolnir guide. I'll do a Zenith guide. But I'm going to wait a few more days to come out with these because, you know, we might get last minute info. But, like, this is the skill. Better give me exiles. This is how I clear. Don't be cowards. What you're watching is not a tier 16 map. I mean, technically it is, but this is Freesia Titanic Exiles. This is, besides 6k Delve and certain Valdos, this is the hardest content in the game. Freesia Exiles are like 4 times harder than normal Exiles. Normal Exiles are probably equivalent to like 2k Delve. Freesia Exiles are probably equivalent to like 6k Delve. But like, real 20% diff. This character did 100 Deathless at 94 mil an hour. Like, 97 res. I just stand in everything deliberately. It's just stupidly tanky. I have like all these sources of recovery. I have ES on block on my shield with block. I have the Energy Shield Mastery to recover when you get hit. I have like, you know, leech and everything, like good regen. This map's a little ZDPS because this map is 177% more life with 97 all res. So this is like times 8 HP. But like some of the maps in this segment that don't have like tank mods are like I am blasting. Oh, I should just kill boss and leave. This one's suppress. Blanking out here. Unique life. Okay, so double tank mod on this one. You might think, oh, you're taking damage. But like this character doesn't really take damage. That was Executioner. That was the only reason I was low there, was because I have Righteous Fire on and it was Executioner. Like, I have so much recovery and mitigation. And this is just using venting. Like, You get the illusion of tanky damage just from Executioner. But, like, this was one of the best feeling characters I've ever played. And this is my plan for 326.
Never a scenario where this is worth it.
And they buffed it. Like, it was already insanely powerful. And they're buffing it by 2.2 times. They're also buffing the tankiness, because they're buffing, like, infused channeling and...
Frenzy immune, or chill immune, whatever.
I'll maybe link this full VOD in the description if you want to see, like, some gameplay of this from Freesia. It's a 37-minute highlight of just, like, a spot where I actually did a few maps in a row without yapping. But, yeah, these are my plans for 326. I will come out with these videos in the coming days. This is kind of what I've... You know, people are going to ask, like, oh, how's Zenith after the patch? What are your plans? Are you going to do Mjolnir? Like... Hopefully this video addresses that, and I will have, like, full guide videos out in the coming days. So, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.